Just thought that one of the best paths that an author can take is one, be Stephanie Meyer, have an incredible dream about vampires, get up, write it down, send it to the premier agent in New York, and then we go ahead and get a huge book deal and a movie deal. But if that's not available, I thought that one of the nice backgrounds for an author is to have a job, preferably in an unrelated field. And I think sales is a great job. I have a background in financial services and financial advising, but also plenty of sales wrapped up within that because it gets you used to how many doors you need to beat on, how many phone calls you may need to place, how many leads you have to follow up on in order to hit your monthly quota. How have you found that your background in sales informs what you do as a writer?
No, that's a great question. I think it is really helpful, both in the sales and also just business in general. I think, especially on the indie route of things, you're running your own small business, and I think marketing, and I would presume this would be very similar, even if you're traditionally published. You need to be your biggest advocate, and you need to be out there trying to market yourself and develop a little bit of a thick skin to know that everybody isn't going to like everything that you write, and just be persistent and keep on working at it and try to push to open doors and find ways to get your books out there. And that's a lot like whatever you're selling. You know, I think in general in life, we all could stand to be a little bit better salespeople for ourselves. I'm not kind of ever like a classic salesperson in some ways, but I think it's taught me a lot of things. And even from a presentation standpoint, I think when I go up to schools and things, being able to be a little bit more comfortable of speaking to people, and if that's something I've done over the years of doing sales presentations and that type of experience, is nothing but helpful to be able to get up there. I actually find that kids are a much easier audience than business people. But I always say, if I ever have to go back and get a real job someday, it's going to be hard not to have people applaud when you like come in and out of the room for meetings and things, because you get a little bit used to that when you go to schools and people talking to you. But I think it's helpful, and I think anytime you can have that experience and confidence and persistence and a thick-skinned feeling, like I mentioned, you have to have that and know that just because it didn't go the way you wanted to today, and this could be the same thing on submitting and querying, just keep on trying, and maybe it's something wrong with your draft. But again, that's the what you hear repeatedly with people going the traditional route is they keep trying, and they were rejected how many dozen times, and they keep trying. And it's not you always. Sometimes you do need to improve your craft, and sometimes you need to improve your covers or your descriptions and that type of thing. But sometimes it's just not the right fit for that right person, whether it's the reader and a kid who tells you that, oh, I don't like mysteries, I just really like fantasy books, and that's great. There's no there's no warrior cats in my stories, but there's other kids that are going to love it, and that's why there's a little bit of different books for everyone. And I think it works that way for publishers and editors and even teachers. Sometimes some feedback, teachers think it's the greatest thing in the world, and other times, you see things online or people that have said, well, they were just okay, and that's just the way it is. But I think not giving up and sticking with it and knowing there's enough people out there in the world, especially with the technology that we have today, to reach literally billions of people. There's a lot of people, no matter how obscure your audience is, that probably will be interested in what you're interested in. It may not be enough to make a living out of it, but depending on what you're looking to do, that's one of the things I say when I'm teaching some of the self-publishing classes to people is, I think the most important thing sometimes is knowing your why. Probably, you hear that a lot, but what are your goals? What are you trying to be? Are you trying to be a millionaire? Are you trying to be on the New York Times bestseller list? Are you trying to write something that you can have and show to your family and friends, or show to your kids someday and just be a something in your family that everybody loves? Or, you're trying to pay the bills and make a living out of it. There's lots of different ways to do it, and the more you understand what you're trying to do, that's going to influence the way you do it as well, and it may influence the way what you're picking to write about. If you're only doing it for love, then by all means do the thing that you love the most. If you desperately need it to support yourself, then you might have to skew a little bit more into where something that's a little bit more commercially successful. So that's a lot like sales in that way, of just being a little bit realistic about what are you trying to do. And there's no right or wrong. I think whatever someone's why is, that's great. But what you are trying to accomplish is going to have a big impact on or should have a big impact on the way that you go about it. And as long as you keep those things synced, I think most people will be a lot happier and successful.
What's your why?
I mean, I think I get asked that a lot by kids when I go to schools too. I think I always say the books that I enjoyed the most were books when I was a kid. You know, sometimes I think some people are stuck in high school. I might be stuck in fourth grade sometimes, where, you know, some of the books that I really enjoyed, books like Where the Red Fern Grows or The Bridge to Terabithia or The Chronicles of Narnia, you know, those are kind of books that still I think really stuck with me. So when I started writing, and now that I have kids, you know, that's kind of that sweet spot when I kind of that sense of wonder. And I think if everybody closes their eyes and kind of pictures what kind of really gets them going with in their imagination, their creativity, that's usually where I kind of kept falling back to. So before I started writing books, I started a blog when my youngest son was born about 10 years ago called myboys3.com. So I was doing blog posts about 2 days a week, which was back in the day was a big thing back then of doing a lot of blogs. So just kind of the crazy adventures of being a dad to 3 little boys. And that kind of was a big part of who I found myself in life being. You know, I have these 3 boys and my wife and our family, and that combined with kind of that feeling of remembering a lot of the things that I was reading and adventures when I was in 4th grade or so. I think that really led into the why of saying this is the types of stories that I want to write. And it started as a side piece that I never imagined would be able to support us. You know, knock on wood at the moment, we're on a 6-month basis at a time decision around here. But I think, you know, the more I saw that, and I like to often say that the business piece of it and running a small business is almost as much fun for me as the writing the books, because it's fun to kind of create something and see if you can make a success of it. So I think that's always been a fun part of it, and part of the why, you know, of why do I go the indie publishing route too, because it is that entrepreneurial kind of feel of things that is fun. So I kind of circled your question a little bit, but those are different elements, I think, of why, you know, it's kind of worked out the way it has, or where I've kind of focused on the direction that I have.